Hi, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be talking about Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. It's the final novel in the Dark Artifices trilogy. I pre-ordered this book before it came out last year, and because I'm a huge fan of Cassandra Clare. I love her Mortal Instruments series. Not a fan of the TV show. I think the TV show is awful. I could only watch the 2 episodes before I was like, never again. But I do enjoy the movie. I did think the movie was a fairly close adaptation. Yes, it had issues, but it could have been better. But, in the end, I thought it was a decent enough adaptation. But, I waited a long time for Queen of Air and Darkness because I really enjoyed the first 2 books of the series. And yes, I'm only now just getting to read it because, there's so much, as a book reviewer, I get so many books, I have so many deadlines that the books that don't have deadlines kind of get pushed back. And yeah, this book got pushed back quite a while. But now that I don't have a job due to COVID-19, I'm trying to make more time to read the books on my bookshelves on the weekend. I spend the week working, and then I spend my weekend reading. And this was one of them. So first of all, this is a book that's over 900 pages. It's 912 pages. It doesn't feel like it. And I think that's great. There's some books that are like 300 pages that seem so long because they just drag. But Claire is so amazing at her pacing. She's so great at developing a great pace for her story, for keeping the momentum up throughout and creating really strong tension throughout the story. And not once does it, this book is split into 3 parts. And not once does the story lag. I thought it was really well written. I thought the structure of it was so well done. And I love the shifting of multiple POVs. The reader really gets to connect to all the characters, from Christina to Kirian, Diana to Mark, Jules and Emma, even Drusilla. And, Ty and Kit, these are all really strong characters. And they're all very unique as well. I think, it takes place right after the previous novel, Annabelle Blackthorne, risen from the dead, in a tragic incident. She kills Livy Blackthorne, Ty's twin sister. And this has sort of broken the family just a little bit because they lost one of their core members. They lost their parents at a really young age, and then they lost their oldest siblings as well because they were part Fae. So they really have a strong family unit that has sort of cracked under pressure at this point. But the entire novel is about them trying to regain one another, trying to find each other once again and recreate that strong unit. I think it's also really important that Claire has introduced diverse characters. From the get-go, she's always been really strong about her diversity and representation, from Magnus and Alec. That was from the beginning. You had a LGBTQ relationship right there. But she's gone further with that. She has Diana, who's a transgender character, and then she has, Christina, Kirian, and Mark enter in a polyamorous relationship, and they all love each other. At first it was sort of characterized that maybe this is going to be like some sort of love triangle, but she did away with that. It doesn't have to be a love triangle. There doesn't have to be drama because of a love triangle. It can be drama trying to be together because they're also kind of different. Kirian is He's a fairy. And then Mark is half fairy. And then Christina's just, she's a Nephilium. She's a shadow hunter. So, they're three different sects, but they want to be together. They love each other with all their hearts. So the relationship is developed in quite a beautiful way. It doesn't seem cliche. It doesn't seem cheesy. And it doesn't seem outlandish. Polyamorous relationships out there, they do work for some people. And I think it's great to show some respect to that. Sometimes you just love someone. You can't control who you love. And if you all love each other, then why not be together? Love is love, So I thought that was really interesting that she developed this polyamorous relationship. Monogamy is really just sort of a human concept. I say that as someone who is monogamous, to her husband. I believe monogamy does work for some people, but, mammals in general, we are mammals. We tend to be polyamorous. And, if that works for some people, then just let it work for them. And I thought that was really, really clever. And I thought it was very respectful how Claire brought to life that relationship. As for Diana and her being a transgender, that was kind of a really beautiful moment in the story because it's her true self and she is living, her truth that people nowadays are struggling to live because of, society, So I thought it was very powerful and wonderful and beautiful, how the people, Nephilium, they don't really have a word for it. It's not something in their culture that is wholly accepted. But Jules and Emma, they find a way to understand it, and they talk to Diana about it. And it's kind of beautiful how that whole exchange goes because there's so much love in that scene. There's so much acceptance in that scene. And it's amazing how that scene is structured. What I also appreciate is Ty. It's very clear he's on the spectrum, on some level. He has this sort of disconnect with other humans. He can't really stand loud spaces, which is why he always had his headphones on. And I thought the development and the relationship between him and Kit, was really well done. I loved how Kit has grown as a character from the first novel. And I think that's also something to take away from this. The series in itself is so memorable. It's been years since I read the first two books, but I still remember them enough that I can pick up this novel a year and a half after its publication and read it and be able to remember everything clearly. I will say this, I wish there was like a family tree because, sometimes these family trees get a little confusing and I always have to think back and look online and be like, okay, where do these people break off again? So it was very lovely to see Kit and Ty's relationship develop, especially in the wake of Livy's death. It's also somewhat tragic because I don't think Ty is really seeing, he's really cracked, like I said, in the wake of his sister's death. And when someone on the spectrum, they sort of crack, when the pressure gets to them, you really get to see it here through his actions, the way he talks to Kit, this disconnect between him and reality, this sort of delusion. That what he's doing is not just for himself but for everyone, and it's not true. So overall, once again, I can't say this enough, this was such an amazing novel. I flew through it. I wish I had time when it came out to read it and review it, but I'm glad I made the time now because Claire doesn't disappoint. I have her new book on my bookshelf, so I'm going to get to that as soon as possible. But she's such a great writer because she's able to create such multi-dimensional characters. She's able to highlight representation. She's able to create an extensive plot line that is so easy to get lost in. You're just so entranced by these characters, by their relationships, by the tension. And I think that's something so powerful about her writing. And it shows that she's grown as a writer, because I can tell, once again, her series is very memorable, but this novel is, like, I'll always love City of Bones. I think City of Bones is a great novel, but you can see how she has grown as a writer with this series. She's dealing with bigotry, she's dealing with racism, and she's using her medium to address these issues of xenophobia and bigotry and racism, and how they are not okay. She uses this medium of fantasy, of downworlders, of demons, of vampires. She creates such a strong message with her fantasy, but it's not lost on the reader. It's so clear, it's so easy to understand, and it makes a powerful impact on the reader. So once again, I really do love the series. I think it's a great series, and I can't say that enough, and I thought this was such a great finale. I have to say this, that scene with Annabelle and Jules, it seemed a little anticlimactic. I mean, the story is called Queen of Air and Darkness. You have Annabelle Blackthorne on the cover. I was kind of expecting to see more of those two go head to head, especially when she has, the Black Book of the Dead. She has the Black Volume. So she has so much magic at her disposal, but it felt a little anticlimactic, their final showdown. And their final showdown is like somewhere in the middle of the book. It's not even near the end. I know the novel's dealing with more important issues, and I really liked that it was dealing with more important issues, all this mystery, all this subterfuge, all these plot twists and schemes within schemes. It's all well developed, don't get me wrong. I was just expecting more from the Annabelle Blackthorne and Jules tension. I was expecting more of that, and I didn't really get more of that, so that left me wanting a little bit more. But I overall did love the story. I got lost in it. It doesn't feel long, it doesn't feel dragged out, and if you were lucky enough to get one of the first edition prints like I was, I love the interior artwork that is spread throughout the book. These one-page scenes, they're so well drawn, they're amazing, and I love the inside flap cover of the hardcover, how it has the Blackthorne family right there and their their allies. That was also really cool. So I really love the artwork. I really love the design of this novel. I love how Claire uses poetry lines as her chapter titles. I've loved that since, the first novel. I thought it was very clever. It fits within the story. It doesn't seem disjointed at all. So, once again, this was Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. I definitely have to recommend the Dark Artifices series. It has such amazing messages, such diversity and representation, and it moves so quickly. I mean, this is just something you just can't put it down. You don't want to put it down. So once again, Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. Please check out your library's digital catalog. And if money is not too tight, please remember to support your local bookseller and purchase the book from their website. Once again, have a nice day and happy reading.